In this video, we're going to talk about the asterisk in C and the different ways that we can use it. It can be really confusing if you're starting out with C programming to understand how that particular character is used in different places. Before we even begin with any code examples, we want to talk about what we actually call that particular character. So I called it the asterisk before, but you'll also see it referred to as the star or the splat, and in some cases a different term would be used in different situations. All of these we'll use interchangeably. If I say asterisk, star, or splat, I'm talking about this character. Should it have 5 or 6 arms? Well, this is the same character that you see here, but I just used a different font, and you'll notice different fonts have different numbers of arms on the character. So what does it mean? Well, it means different things at different times. So it's important that you understand the difference. If you've done any programming before, then you know that it can be used as the multiplication operator, indicating that you should multiply two things together. So here's an example of it being used in that case. But it can also be used to indicate that you're declaring a variable of a pointer type. So here we have an example of a character pointer. Notice we're using the same character we used for multiplication as part of the type. Now you'll sometimes see the asterisk moved adjacent to the type name. Other times you'll see the asterisk used adjacent to the variable name. My recommendation is that if you want to get rid of one of these spaces, then put it attached to the type because that's going to be what it's there for. In this case, we're using the asterisk as part of the type name. If we put it with a variable, which we'll see next, it means something different outside of a variable declaration. So here's an example where we've put the asterisk with the type name that maybe gives it a little more clarity that it goes with the type, not the variable. It's just a matter of personal preference, whichever way you find clearest, that works. And then finally, the asterisk or splat can be used as the dereference operator, which is what gives you an alias from a pointer name. So here entry, we're going to assume was declared as a pointer at some point. And here we're not assigning the pointer, but we're assigning to the variable the pointer is pointing to. The dereference operator gives us an alias of the variable the pointer is pointing to. And so in this case, we're adding one to whatever new value is and assigning that to whatever entry is pointing to. So 3 different cases where we're using the same character to mean completely different things. Now you can also combine all 3 uses in one statement. I don't recommend it, but it is possible. This is a valid line of C code. We're declaring an integer pointer called bad pointer. We're setting it equal to nums, which we're assuming is some sort of pointer. And then we're adding the value of the variable that pointer is pointing to times 2 to the nums address to give us something that the bad pointer is going to point to. This is perfectly valid C code. I would argue that it's not good C code because in general, you want to try to do one thing per statement. You don't want to do too much on one single line. It just makes your code harder to read. So in this particular statement, we're using the asterisk as the multiplication operator. We're using it as a pointer type, and we're using it as the dereference operator. So we're using it all 3 ways in one statement. Again, this is not good code, but it is possible to do it all in one line. So now that we've seen these differences, let's take a look at some example code. So here I have 2 variables in a simple C program. Now let's declare a pointer. So here I've declared an integer pointer called pointer that's going to be initialized with the address of the variable. So here the asterisk means pointer type. Now to indicate what's happening, let's go ahead and print everything out. And here the void pointer is just there to avoid a warning. GCC doesn't like using this pointer with anything other than a void pointer, so we just do a cast here. Normally I don't like using cast to avoid warnings, but since this is done in the printf statement, not a problem. So let's run our code, and I call that splat.c. And when I run this, I get var equals 3, var2 equals 0, and the pointer is this, and we can assume that this would be the address of var because that's what we initialize it to be. So what if I say star pointer is equal to 5? Well, here I'm using the asterisk as a dereference operator. This gives me an alias of what pointer is pointing to, which is var. So this is going to give us an alias of var. So when I print these out, we should see pointer stays the same, but var changes to 5. So we compile and run. Pointer stays the same. var changes to 5. Now finally, if we have something like this, here the star means the multiplication operator. And we'll go ahead and print these out. And if we compile and run, you can see that var2 is set to var times 10. Now we could also do something like var2 is equal to and we'll dereference pointer times 4, let's say. And here we have two asterisks. The first is dereference. The second is multiply. And to be consistent, I'll put a comma there. So let's print these out again. And notice in this final case, we're actually using it twice, and it's going to mean a different thing in both cases. So let's compile and run, and you'll notice this sets var2 to var times 4, which is 20. Again, the pointer never changes. We don't actually change the pointer in this particular example. We're just showing the difference in what the asterisk character means depending on how we use it in our code. If you're new to C, this could be confusing, but with experience, you start being able to pick up on sight how the asterisk is being used in any given statement.